Okay, hello. All right, I'll just bring this up here so they can see it. Okay, so,
Are you recording this on?
yes, I'm going to have to record this lesson because there's too many people away and we're already missing so many lessons. Right, so we need to be on our best behaviour and no swearing, me included. So, the theme that we're exploring is hysteria. Yes, just to catch the people up on here. I know we've talked about it. And we said that the word hysteria meant panic, chaos, losing control. Okay, which obviously does sound very fitting to the crucible, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Excellent. Then we talked about authorial intent and what the word authorial intent means. Now this is something that you've probably done in Year 10 English, hopefully, but if you haven't, you've probably done it but never used the particular words authorial intent, okay? And authorial intent means what the author intends, what they are trying to do by writing this text. Okay, so what are the messages that they're trying to give? Okay? So what are the messages? Alright, so let's talk about it. What do you think are the messages that Miller... So Miller obviously wrote this text with an agenda, yeah? What does it mean when you do something with an agenda? A reason, yeah. So he did it for a reason. He wrote this text for a reason. We know the reason was to talk about the way that the government, particularly Senator McCarthy, was persecuting people because of their political beliefs, or what he thought their political beliefs might be. He didn't even have any evidence that that's what their political beliefs were. He was just kind of going, I think you're this, so I'm going to punish you. Okay? Part of that comes down to hysteria. What do you think Arthur Miller is saying about hysteria, about panic, about chaos, about losing control? What do you think he's saying?
Shows the danger of mob mentality.
Yeah, definitely. That mob mentality can spur on this hysteria, that can incite it. Yeah? Yes? No?
Yeah.
Maybe so? Yeah? Can spur... Incite is another nice word. Yeah. Mob mentality can spur or incite hysteria. Okay. I think Andrew is 1,000% correct in that assertion. Where would you be able to use evidence to prove that? How would you prove that? Where do we see mob mentality inciting hysteria?
When the girls all start like screaming and yelling.
When specifically? They do a lot of screaming and yelling. Specifically, when do
they naming people who they saw with the devil?
Okay, so like when Betty and Mercy and that, that first one where
Yeah.
they turn on Tituba and they go,
Yeah.
I saw so-and-so with the devil,
Yeah.
I saw so. Yeah, good, okay. So, when Abigail declares herself, she declares herself like saved, doesn't she? That she's like, I'm not going to follow the devil anymore. I'm going to be saved. Saved. And Mercy. Who is it? It's Mercy. It's Betty. Who else is there? Mercy, Betty, Abigail. Pardon?
Sarah Good.
No, she's not there. They blame her. They call Sarah Good a witch.
Elizabeth?
Ah, it's Mary as well, and Mary. And Mary start naming witches, e.g. Sarah Good and Osborne. Yeah, okay, so definitely there, when Abigail and all the girls start going, I saw so-and-so with the devil, I saw so-and-so with the devil, that's definitely mob mentality creating hysteria. Cool. Can anyone think of a quote? I'm thinking of one in particular. Let's see if you can guess it. Anyone think of a quote from somebody that tells us about the effect of this mob mentality?
When Mary's being accused and she's asked to faint again and she can't.
Good. Mary can't faint. The moment when Mary can't faint, she can't do it. Why? Because she doesn't have that mob mentality with her. She can't create that hysteria in that moment because she hasn't got the mob mentality. The other one I was going to use, I like that one though. The other one I was going to use is when she says, where she's talking to Proctor, and she says, and he says, like, why didn't you say that you were possessed by devils before? Why did you never mention it before? It's on page 57. And she says, Elizabeth says, why, I never heard you mention it before. And she says, I never knew it before. I never knew anything before. Which proves that mob mentality thing, doesn't it? That, like, she is kind of envisioning this because she didn't know that she was being possessed before, but now she knows. How handy. All right. Any other times where we can see mob mentality creating hysteria? Paul?
I think it was in Act 3 where Proctor's wife was being accused, and then I think, was it Mary Warren that was trialed?
Oh, Mary Warren goes to fight against them.
Yeah, and then the girls copied.
Turn on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do the mimicking. Yeah. Yeah, so when the girls mimic Mary, yeah. Yeah, because who starts that mimicking? Do you remember who starts the mimicking? It's Abigail. Abigail starts it, and then all the girls join in. You know, and then she goes, Abigail says, oh, I feel so cold. And then all the girls goes, oh, yes, I feel so cold. And then she says, Mary, get down from there. Get down from the rafters. And the girls go, oh, get down from the rafters, Mary. It's this mob mentality thing that's creating this hysteria, definitely. I think you see the best instance of mob mentality in that scene where Mary is trying to stand up to the girls. Definitely. What else do we see about hysteria? What else do you think is the message about hysteria? Is hysteria something that produces good things for the community? That we're like, oh, thank God that people get hysterical sometimes because really good things come out of it.
Bad decisions to make, big decisions to make.
Yeah. Like, no good comes from a hysterical kind of viewpoint. Nothing good ever comes from someone who is hysterical. Good. Yeah. So obviously the decisions made in the thick of hysteria in regards to this scene or this play are what? What decisions are made in the thick of hysteria?
The people that get put in jail.
Good, yeah, the people being accused of witchcraft and on such flimsy evidence as she reads books, so she must be a devil. And, you know, a teenage girl who, let's just say she's, her reputation is not exactly white in the village. That she, you know, her accusation, sorry, is there a word you can't read?
No.
Because of my fancy writing. Okay, people jailed/hung, because remember, when we get to Proctor, there have already been a whole bunch of people who have already been executed, but they haven't been as important a people as John Proctor and Sarah and Goody Nurse. They're just not as important, but people like Goody Osborne and Goody Good have already been hung. Okay, so people have been jailed or hung for being witches on dubious evidence. Do you know what the word dubious means? What does it say if I am dubious? Yeah, flimsy, debatable, not trustworthy. Yeah. Okay. What other decisions are made in this thick of hysteria that we go, probably not the best of choices you made there? Look, there are probably worse one out there, but it'd be tough to find them. Other bad decisions made in this kind of vacuum of hysteria.
It's not bad, but when Abigail runs away from Paris, takes his money.
Good, yeah. I would say it's a bad idea, yeah. Because what we actually... Did we read this bit? I don't know if we actually read the afterward.
It goes down the corridor.
Oh, Echoes Down the Corridor. Did we read that bit? Oh, let's get it out. Get out the Echoes from the Corridor. Okay, because then it tells us what happened to these poor buggers once this story ends. Because remember, all of these people are real people. So let's hear what happened to these people. Echoes Down the Corridor. Not long after the fever died, Paris was voted from office, walked out onto the high road and was never heard of again. So he was voted out of his position of pastor and never seen again. Legend has it that Abigail turned up later as a prostitute in Boston. 20 years after the last execution, the government awarded compensation to the victims still living and to the families of the dead. However, it is evident that some people were still unwilling to admit their total guilt, and also that factionalism was still alive, for some beneficiaries were actually not victims at all, but informers. Elizabeth Proctor married again, 4 years after Proctor's death. In solemn meeting, the congregation rescinded the excommunications. This in March of 1712. But they did so upon orders of the government. The jury, however, wrote a statement praying for forgiveness for all who had suffered. Certain farms which belonged to victims were left to ruin, and for more than a century no one would buy them or live on them. To all intents and purposes, the power of theocracy in Massachusetts was broken. So, basically, to sum up, Paris lost his job and basically disappeared. Abigail ended up a prostitute. Elizabeth did marry again. The people who were excommunicated or jailed were welcomed back into the church after time, and were paid compensation for their, their pain and their suffering. But lots of people who were paid this compensation were actually informers as well. And it would be very hard to separate who were informers and who were victims, because a lot of the victims were informers, weren't they? Because you had very little choice. If you didn't want to hang, you had to inform, didn't you? That was your only option. And so, there was some debate that was it really fair. Okay, so on reflecting on that, do you think that Abigail's choice to run away was the best of choices? Did it end up with a happily ever after for her? Perhaps not. Look, I don't think anyone goes, when I grow up, I hope I'm going to be a prostitute. I don't think that that's a thing. So, let's pop that one down, yeah. Okay. Right. So Abigail's escape. Any other decisions made in hysteria that you go, probably was a bad idea? Yep.
Maybe at the start when Abigail grabbed the charm.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because I would say, that the dancing in the woods thing, I would say, again, you've got another case of that kind of bubble of hysteria, don't you? That everyone's excited and we just got really carried away and next minute I drank someone's blood. Ooh. Happens to the best of us. We've all been to parties like that where you're like, whoa, that was crazy. I did drink a chicken's blood, but hey, what stays in Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's probably how she felt. Abigail, casting the charm. Would you also say the people who confessed? The people who confessed and said, yeah, I was a witch. Yeah, totally was a witch. Do you think those people too are probably people who made poor choices because of the hysteria in the environment?
Yeah, because if no one had confessed...
Yeah, if one person had just stood up from the start and gone, nope, I am not a witch, don't be ridiculous, and died, maybe it wouldn't have killed so many people, perhaps. Good. Paul?
Could you say that?
Teacher?
Most of her actions, like from when she did that sacrifice or that ritual, that from that point on, she had to do stuff to survive.
Yeah.
Like she confessed of being a witch because she had to. Like there was no.
She's got no choice, definitely. Yeah, Tituba's actions as a whole are poor choices made because of hysteria. Yeah, that she's just like, I just need to save my own skin. Yeah. I'd also say, the townspeople as a whole for allowing this to go on. Because there are people in this town, aren't there, that are just kind of letting this happen. Yeah? The townspeople for kind of turning a blind eye. Because what would happen if they go, I think this is all crap. Guys, I think we're making bad choices. What would they fear? What if they spoke up and said, "Oh, this is a bad idea"? What could potentially happen to them? Yeah, that they might go, "That's what a witch would say." Yeah, it'd turn back on them. Yeah. Good. And what about Mary Warren? She makes a really kind of, we think, bad decision because of her hysteria. What does she do? What does she do to Proctor? Do you remember?
Oh, when she confessed, she covered him up.
No, what is she actually accuses him, doesn't she? Do you remember this? Let's go to it. I'm talking about Mary. Mary. Where are we? Mary Warren. Okay, page 104 if you can turn to it. Turn to page 104. Okay, so Mary's getting pressured to... Mary's feeling the pressure because the girls are accusing her of being a witch. And then Proctor goes to Mary to kind of console her and physically kind of protect her. Boys, I hope you're paying attention. I don't know why computers are out because we're not actually using them.
I opened my emails, but now I just wanted to see where Barbados was.
Fabulous. Well, now you know. Shut.
Very small.
It's really small. Yeah, it is a really small place. I've never been there, but apparently it's super beautiful.
Sorry, am I wrong? Rihanna?
Had it?
Just broke my heart.
Hmm?
She's from there?
Who?
Just
Singer,
crap.
Rihanna.
Yes, I think she is from Barbados.
Who?
Rihanna. Don't look it up. Yeah, I think she's from Barbados. Yeah. Anyway, this isn't about Rihanna. Surprisingly. Surprisingly, this is not about Rihanna. Right. So, Proctor goes to kind of comfort her and strengthen her, and she turns around and she says, "Don't touch me, don't touch me." Yeah? And she says, "You're the devil's man." And Paris and the girls are like, "Praise God, praise God." Page 104. And then she stitches him up. She turns around and stitches him up and says, "I will not hang with you. I love God, I love God." And then Danforth says, "He bid you to do the devil's work." And Mary says, "He come to me by night and every day to sign the devil's book. My name, he want my name. I'll murder you if my wife hangs. We must go and overthrow the court. He wake me every night with his eyes like coals and my fingers claw at my neck, and I sign. No, I love God. I go your way no more. I love God." So she stitches up Proctor to save her own skin. Because she knows that, he's going to take her down with him. There's, Proctor's going down and Mary's going to go down with him. And she's just like, "I got to save my own skin." He's a witch. So I would say that one would probably be something that we would consider is probably not a good choice. I mean, it saves her skin, but it's not a good choice, it's a moral choice. Mary. Definitely. Okay. Anything else that we learn about, or anything else that we kind of, learn about hysteria?
I've got another one for decisions.
Oh, yeah?
When Giles turns in his wife.
Oh, yeah. Good one. Giles and his wife. Poor old Giles. Everybody makes mistakes, Some of them mean that your wife's going to get hanged, but everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, no. Where's my pen?
And he actually talks about how he regrets that, doesn't he? That he's like, "I wish I'd never told them." Yeah. The other thing that I think I would put in this box is that I think the other thing that Miller shows us is that there are people who use times of hysteria and weakness as an advantage for themselves, that they prey upon it. That there are predatory people out there and they see weakness and they launch upon it. Yeah, people like who? Who is like that? Pardon?
Danforth.
Yep.
The one that was after the land.
Putnam. Yep. I would say the Putnams, and I would say Abigail as well, that they see areas of weakness, like times of hysteria, and they use it to their own advantage. Yeah. You know, and I think we are supposed to see people, particularly like the Putnams, as these kind of really predatory human beings, that they are predators, that they see a weakness and they exploit it for their own advantage. You know, and I think we're supposed to see them like that because there's really, particularly with Mr. Putnam, there is no real goodness in him, is there? Like, there's nothing that we look at Mr. Putnam and we go, oh, well, at least he's kind, generous, honest. There's nothing about Mr. Putnam that is goodness. He is supposed to be this predatory person that we're supposed to go, you are a bad human. Go back to the start and try again. You are a bad human. So, let's put Mr. Putnam there. And as Alex said, his thing is what? What is he trying to get? It's all about land. It's all about the money, money, money. They don't have money, 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 so they have land. I can continue. Not that you want me to, or the internet doesn't want me to. So let's leave it there. He wants land. Because also land equals money and it equals power. Because remember, it talks about how the more land you have, the more powerful you are in this community, that you vote via how much land you have. And so he knows that the more land he has, the more power he has. And so he's willing to kind of do anything to get it. And we said Danforth is also in this category that sees hysteria and kind of preys upon it. How so? How so? How do I know that he is that kind of guy? Other than like we think he's a jerk. Where is a time where he kind of sees that people are in a time of hysteria and uses it to his own advantage?
You go like, I am the word of God. He says like, I'm right and you're wrong.
Good, yeah, he preys on that idea, that hysteria that they have about religion. That they're religiously, whipped up into a fervour, and so he uses that to reinforce his own power. Yeah. Uses God hysteria to reinforce power. Yeah. Yeah. And the last one we said was Abigail. The old Abigail. She's my hero. Mate, if I could be half as evil as Abigail, I'd be a happy woman. She knows what she wants and she just goes out there and gets it. She's a go-getter, Yeah. Yeah.
We've seen Tituba as well, because when she gets accused, she uses that thing to turn on Paris.
Yeah.
To show the mic.
I like that. That's an interesting interpretation.
Socio.
Yeah, because
I don't know how to say it. I know what it is.
From Barbados.
Yeah, why
The devil wanted me to kill you
Yeah.
and stuff.
Shut up, chicken.
Yeah. And actually, I would say, there are lots of things I like about the Crucible, don't get me wrong. I love it. and there are lots of quotes in there that I go, oh, that's so interesting. Arthur Miller is such a clever writer. But I think Tituba is probably one of my favourites because that bit, that little kind of monologue that she gets, I'll just wait, where she actually talks about, where she actually uses it to her own advantage and says, like, you know, the devil bade me to kill Paris. And he said that, you know, if I killed Paris, he would take me back to Barbados and give me pretty dresses and let me fly in the air and blah, blah, blah. That's actually super clever because we all kind of like feel like in the text that she's like kind of a nobody, and like almost like we think that she's kind of stupid because of the way she talks and stuff. But it shows us that she's a really sophisticated person in that she goes, this is my one moment of power. And I'm going to use that one moment of power to get back at this man that obviously has been horrible, who is a bad person. Because the first thing he does when he hears that Tituba might be involved, he says, I'm going to beat you to death. I'm going to take you outside, I'm going to beat you to death. A little bit far, like, cool your jets, mate. Maybe work up to it.
He gets afraid.
Yeah, like he's obviously horrible to her. Yeah, he's a horrible, horrible person. And so she uses that one little speck of power that she gets to just get him back that little bit. I think that's so cool. I think it's so cool. So yeah, anyway, I'll stop fair-girling about Tituba. Abigail, where does she kind of see a time of weakness and use it to her advantage?
After Tituba accuses she next.
Yeah, that she goes, hang on, I can see what Tituba's doing, and I'm going to take that hysteria and I'm going to exploit it. Yeah. That's how it all starts. That she sees, because Tituba does that confession, right? And she is, you know, watching on and going, hang on, I see this newfound power that Tituba's got. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it and exploit it for myself and give myself this kind of power that I've always wanted. Yeah, Leon?
You say when she's threatening the girls, almost?
Yeah, definitely. And she's threatening the girls, where she goes, you know, if you breathe an edge of a word, I will come to you in the blackest of some night. Yeah. I will bring a pointy reckoning that will shudder you. So good. If I could only be that fierce. It's the dream. It's the dream. That is actually so epic. I love that bit. She's just like, I will bring a pointy reckoning that will shudder you. So good. It's the dream. It's the dream. Questions, queries, concerns about hysteria? No? So, if you got a prompt, I can help you out with that later if you'd like.
Talking about throat punching Abigail.
I can help you with throat punching. Yeah. If you got a question that was a prompt that you could go, okay, clearly this is about hysteria. This is a moment of hysteria, right? What you would do is look back, because remember, you've got basically 3 days with this prompt to think about, to cook something amazing. The first thing I would do is go, okay, I'm going to pick that hysteria prompt. Excellent. Bring it on. And I go to these. I would go to this page and I would go, okay, so these are the messages that I need to put into my story, script, monologue, whatever. This is what I have to do. I have to capture these ideas. 1, 2, 3. They're the messages about hysteria that I need to put forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool? Happy? So these are basically the answers. These 3 statements are like the answers. You're welcome. All right, everyone got that down? Excellent. I'm just going to take a quick photo of it because the actual resolution on this is a little poor. So I just want to make sure that everybody's getting the notes. So, let's see. Okay. All right. Now we'll just do a quick spin around and say hi.
Is it recording actually?
Say hi.
up?
Oh, there we go. Oh, look at them all. Say hi, guys. Say hi.
So much better.
Hi. That's cute.
I think Jeff is actually.
It's another excellent thing on the internet of me. Excellent. All right.
Are YouTube famous?
Yeah. All right. So the next one I want to do. Let's have a look. All right. The next one I would like to do. What do we reckon? I reckon hypocrisy is a nice one. Hypocrisy? Hypocrisy? I like hypocrisy. It's a fun word to say. So if you want to write that as your heading.
Can I check the best episode?
Hypocrisy. 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 All right. Okay. Let's talk about hypocrisy. What does the word hypocrisy mean? Kathy? What does the word hypocrisy mean? If I call you a hypocrite, what do I mean?
You're doing something that doesn't make you a safe thing.
Sometimes, yeah. So I'm saying one thing and I'm kind of doing another. Yeah. So I'm not actually... So I would kind of say... So for instance, if I came up to you and I was like, girls, you can't have the fancy nails. It's not okay. They look dreadful. Mama. And I've got fake nails. Does that make sense? Or like... No, you can't have the piercings. Oh, that's terrible. And I've got like one of those like horrible septum things and like a whole bunch of piercings down my neck and, you know, whatever. Okay? That would make me a hypocrite. I'm saying one thing, I'm doing another. Right? Right. So, but luckily I'm a teacher, so I'm allowed to be a hypocrite. So, that's like the joy. There's very few joys about being a teacher. One of them is that you get to be a hypocrite. The other one is that you get to yell at kids. So like, it's not all bad. You get paid to do it too, so that's fun. But there had to be a perk. So tell me, who is a hypocrite in our text? Who would we go? They are hypocrites. They are somebody. Pardon?
Mrs. Putnam.
Mrs. Putnam.
How do you know who that is?
Okay.
She's in the play.
You're like John Proctor.
Good point, man. Good point. Okay, Mrs. Putnam.
We just talked about it.
We are naming her as numero uno hypocrito. So, Mrs. Putnam, tell me,
She's like, she just blames everyone else.
why is she a hypocrite?
She just blames everyone else because of her baby's getting.
Okay.
Oh, is this
Blames others
She has like 3 babies.
for Death of her baby. Okay, yep, I would say that's classic hypocrite. I think Mrs. Putnam's a little bit hard as well because, like, she's... You know that she's doing it because of grief. You know, like that it's about grief that her hypocriteness happens. Hypocrisy, I think is the word I was looking for there. Hypocriteness. The other thing is, we see that she's a hypocrite, is what does she do? Oh, you are you anticipating it?
I think she acts the innocent one and the victim because her babies have died, but then is the first to mention witches.
Good, yeah, okay. So that wasn't what I was going to mention, but I like that. Okay, so she acts, she kind of acts as like very like religious, but she's kind of, the first to kind of call someone a witch. Acts, I guess, let's use this one. Do you know this phrase, holier than thou? I'll explain it in a minute.
I'm holier than you.
Yeah, so she acts holier than thou, which means like, you know, oh, I'm so good, I'm so perfect. Ooh. She acts like she's this kind of person, like a super religious person, but she's the first to demand that the punishment for being a witch. She's the first to insist upon it. I think there's something else that makes her a big fat hypocrite. How does she try and work out who's killed her babies?
Oh, she sent her daughter.
She sends her daughter to go and like cast a spell, to go and talk with the dead. Yeah, she goes and sends her daughter to talk to the dead to find out who killed her. So like she's calling people witches, but she made her own daughter commit witchcraft. Hypocrite. Condemns witches, but sends her daughter to summon her dead babies. Actually, Miss Murphy, it was really funny. You know, I was talking to Dr. Jane. Miss Murphy had a class where she had her, like a lady from the university come and check that she was a good teacher, and she did really well. But she goes, oh, so what are you teaching in class? And I go, oh, well, you know, we've just done Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. She's like, oh, that's very dark. And I said, yeah. And then she goes, oh, and now we're doing Edward Scissorhands. And she's like, well, that's very dark. And I said, oh, and then we're going to do this graphic novel called Everything is Teeth. And she's like, oh, that's a very dark program you've got there. I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh, okay, so what else is RMB doing? And I said, oh, well, you know, we also, we've been looking at The Crucible in year 11. And she's like, are there any happy texts on your program? I'm like, no. I don't do happy. I do evil, I do blood, I do gore. I'm into that.
Yeah, we're doing Black Death in Humanity.
I know. Oh, that's what I said. And she goes, oh, what other classes? I'm like, oh, yeah, we've been doing Black Death and Humanities. And she's like, it's a really depressing school. I was like, yes. We only look at bad stuff at this school. We are not interested in happiness. We are not interested in happiness at all. So yeah, I'd never thought about it that way, but she's totally right.
She's very happy.
Yeah, what can go wrong with diseases? That's a beautiful, beautiful topic to cover. Yeah, yeah,
You know, Alex?
perfect.
In bio, we go like, what goes wrong with diseases?
Yeah, like when like staph like goes crazy and like takes over the world. Yeah, excellent. Okay, let's talk about another character and how they're a hypocrite. Any other characters that we go, they are very hypocritical? Mary Warren, how so, madam?
Because she was like when she was with John Proctor, she was saying that she'll like do what he says and like be there for him and like stick up, but then she goes with the girls and
Yeah, she ends up flipping on him. Yeah.
can you get it?
Who else is a hypocrite? Yes.
Can you say Paris?
Yeah?
He doesn't want his reputation ruined, but he brings it all up.
Good. And Paris is supposed to be the pastor. He's the priest. And all he does is care about money and his own reputation. He's supposed to care about the town. He doesn't give two crap about the town. It's about him. Yeah. Who else? Yeah.
Could you say Danforth
Yeah.
in terms of saying how he believes of these witch tales, but in reality it's false?
Yeah, he doesn't actually believe in them. He doesn't believe in witches, does he? This is about power. It's not about, yeah.
Like he's doing whatever the community feels like is right.
Good. I would also say he's supposed to be about justice, but actually he's about his own power. Yeah.
Vengeance. Yes, not really. Yeah. Yeah, I have the Arkham.
No, I will get this one.
Oh, yeah, the scarecrow. And the golden rifle. Huh? That's what I don't
Good. Fantastic. These are really good. There's one person in this story, though, that none of these people recognize that they're hypocrites, do they? They don't recognize it. They always have excuses for this is why I am.
John.
Good. Hale. Hale is a hypocrite. And John. I was going to say, there are two people who recognize they are hypocrites, and they are John and Hale. John and Hale know that they have been hypocrites, and they hate themselves for it. He's another judge. Yeah, he's like a minor judge. Yeah. Right. So they are the exception to the rule. that all of these people don't see that they're hypocrites. But these guys do. And they hate themselves for it. Alright. I'm going to take a photo of this and then we're going to come up with a couple of statements. Do. Yeah. I'll close my emails. Yes, let's have a quick stretch. Have a quick stretch. We'll pause this video.